Background context. My 31-year-old female partner and a 34-year-old male received an incredibly thoughtful and generous gift of plane tickets for his birthday from his parents to visit his brother and family in Australia for a long weekend. We live in New Zealand. It's a much-needed break for him, and he's been needing some time with his brother, sister-in-law, and nieces and nephews. Everything was all good and well. However, life got in the way with a few big moments. The first being, the date they had booked was around my partner's brother's birthday, which sadly fell on the first anniversary of my granddad's passing. A thing to note is I was incredibly close with my granddad, and so was my partner. My partner had a discussion with his parents around whether the tickets could be changed to a different date. It was near impossible, as they had purchased non-refundable tickets. All fine. Then he asked if it was possible for me to drive my partner to the airport instead of them, and this is where the tension started with his parents. I personally wasn't there, so all I have to go on is what my partner has told me, and he said his mom became oddly pushy and stated that she had sympathy for whatever I was going through, but she was taking her son to the airport and I couldn't be there. Okay, a bit odd, but again fine. Then, 2 weeks before he's due to leave, I received news that my dad has a complex mutation of leukemia, and the doctors say they aren't able to do anything for him without shortening the life expectancy he has left. This, again, led to another discussion around changing the dates so we could all be with Dad on Granddad's anniversary, given it will be the only anniversary we'll share with him due to his illness. Again, the response was, while we feel sympathy and want to know what's going on with your dad, we're still pushing for you to go on this trip away. Okay, we get it. He's going on the trip. Now, leading into what's happening currently, earlier this week, I took a pregnancy test, and it was faintly positive. I was so excited and scared to believe it was real, as I have fertility struggles and didn't think this would be possible. After telling my partner, we decided to take another test, and instead of the standard tests we usually get, we purchased a digital one and tested a couple of days later, and sadly, it came back with a negative test result. Hope crushed, believing it may have been a false positive, and I ended up getting my period last night, which was a lot heavier and more painful than usual. Now, as mentioned, I've had fertility struggles, and as such, have been going through pre-fertility treatment testing, and happen to have complete blood work done this week, as well as reproduction hormones and thyroid tests. Today's the day my partner flies out, and I received a call from my doctor to discuss my blood results, and she advised that a couple of the tests indicated I was pregnant, and she wanted me to have a human chorionic gonadotropin blood test done to confirm the other tests' indication. I then had to tell her about the pregnancy tests and getting my period that was heavier than normal, to which she replied that I likely had a pregnancy and am now miscarrying. I'm shaken. I didn't think more could be thrown at me while I'm grieving the loss of my granddad and the soon-to-be loss of my dad. When I was told this, I thought I needed to talk with my partner about this immediately, and then I doubted my need to talk to him about it because he was leaving on a trip, and I didn't want him to have this on his mind. But at the same time, I knew he wouldn't forgive me if I let him leave without telling him. So I spoke to my partner and told him what the doctor said, why we had the positive test, then a negative one, and why my bleeding is heavier and more painful than normal. And his reaction was as expected. He was upset and sorry, but he was also saying how sorry he was while speeding around the house trying to pack his bag because his parents would be there in an hour to take him to the airport. I don't know what it was, but the gravity of the whole situation hit me. And I said some things I'm not proud of, but I feel are also true. I said I didn't think he cares about this because he can't even give me the time to talk about it. I went further to say that while he gets to be over there, I'll be here miscarrying our baby by myself, and he doesn't think enough of me or this pregnancy I'm passing to stay behind and help me through this. I'm not proud of hurting him with my words, and I know they hurt him, but I'm also so scared of finishing this on my own. And I felt hurt that he was trying to pack his bags to escape while also trying to comfort me in a situation I've never been through before. In the end, I needed to leave, said goodbye, and wished him a safe flight. I have been sitting at the beach grieving, crying, thinking, writing, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm not sure this is something I can forgive him for leaving me alone to pass this pregnancy by myself. And yet I feel selfish at the same time because I know he needed this break too. I'm confused, overwhelmed, sad, heartbroken, and angry. I love him so much. We've been together through difficult times and have always had each other's backs. But this is too much right now. Has anyone been through something similar, or has any advice for how to get through the grief, but also forgive my partner? Maybe I'm overthinking everything and having expectations that aren't fair to him. Now for an update. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. There are so many moving parts here. Parents booking him a trip to spend a long weekend with his brother. Totally okay, in my opinion. A present for both their kids. They paid for the trip. They want to be part of it by driving him. I am not huge on death anniversaries, so it might be they feel the same way. This was all booked before the news about your dad. There was nothing your partner could do about this. You can spend the time with your dad. The miscarriage is a hard one. I have had early and late miscarriages. Sounds like yours was early, and you were already in the process, which means it is safer for you. Not nice, but for many, it is just like a heavy period. It really comes down to personalities. It is emotional, and the hormones do go a bit crazy. I would not have minded for the early ones. The midterm ones I needed hospital care for, so I would have very much minded during those. Take a moment. You have a lot going on. Go spend the time with your dad. Deal with your partner after. Comment 2. I'm just going to address the first portion. Your partner was going to see his brother for a long weekend. To me, a long weekend means about 4 days. So first, you wanted him to reschedule because the trip coincided with the anniversary of your grandfather's death. This is not a reasonable request, especially since you knew this trip was long overdue for your fiancé. Then, you raised the stakes by making this anniversary about your dad's imminent death. Just these 2 incidents suggest to me that you just didn't want him to go. He does not need to be there to celebrate this family event with you. And if his family hasn't seen him in a while, I can understand why they would encourage him to come home instead. You knew the tickets weren't refundable. I just don't see why you put him in this position in the first place. Now, for the update. I'm sitting on my couch, mindlessly scrolling through social media like it's my job. My partner has been in Australia for 2 weeks now, and honestly, it feels like forever. I'm just trying to survive while he's off, relaxing from all the stress in his life. Yeah, right. Anyway, out of nowhere, I get a DM from a family friend who lives in Australia. I barely even register it before I open it, and there it is, a photo from a beach party that my partner is clearly at. He's laughing, looking all relaxed, and oh yeah, holding hands with some woman who looks super familiar. My stomach drops, like, she looks really familiar. I'm not just being paranoid here, I recognize her. She's someone from his college days, a friend of a friend or whatever, but I know who she is. And not in a, I'm a cool girlfriend and I know all his friends kind of way. More like a, I've seen this girl at parties and I know she had a crush on him kind of way. I'm feeling all kinds of uneasy and I just need a second opinion, so I shoot a screenshot of the photo to my sister. Her response is immediate and it's basically what I was thinking. That doesn't seem right. She's all, what's going on? But I just tell her I'll call her later. I'm not ready to confront my partner. I mean, he's still in Australia, so it'll have to wait until he gets back. I need to figure out how to handle this face to face. He gets back and we meet at our favorite restaurant for dinner. I can't even look at him for the first few minutes. He's all casual, asking about my week while digging into his food. But I finally ask about the woman from the party. He plays dumb at first, saying her name, and then goes into how she was just an old friend. But come on. An old friend doesn't hold your hand while you're partying on the beach. I call him out on how cozy they look in the photo, and that's when everything goes crazy. He gets super defensive, saying I'm being unreasonable after everything he went through. The restaurant is packed and people are looking over at us. I just want to disappear. He says he needed the trip to relax. Like, I get it, you needed a break. I needed a break too, but I wasn't holding hands with some dude on the beach. Then he says something that triggers me. He brings up how I have my own struggles too. What does that even mean? The next day, I'm done being passive about this. I organize a family dinner, inviting both sets of parents and my sister. I need witnesses for this. The dinner is at my parents' house, and everyone brings something to eat. It's a big family affair, and I can tell my partner is confused when he shows up. He has no idea what I'm up to. During dinner, I casually mention the photo to the family. His face turns white. The atmosphere shifts, and everyone's looking at him now. My dad asks about the woman, and my partner is squirming in his seat. He tries to explain, but he sounds even less convincing when he's under pressure. My mom, sensing the tension, tries to lighten the mood by suggesting we all talk about our summer plans. This is my moment to shine. I casually mention that I'm going on a trip with friends. The look on his face is priceless. He tries to downplay it, but I can see he's uncomfortable. The family starts getting excited about my trip, and I can tell my partner is realizing that he doesn't get a say in my plans. Dinner ends, and it's awkward but satisfying. My partner tries to apologize the next day, but I'm not having it. I cut him off, saying he needs to respect my space and let me decide what I want. He agrees, but I can see the worry in his eyes. He's genuinely scared of losing me, and honestly, I'm scared too. To answer a few questions, my partner and I have been together for 2 years, living together for 1. His trip was a gift from his parents for his birthday, and they knew I was struggling but still encouraged him to go. The woman in the photo is a former friend of his from college, and while they were never romantically involved, she had a crush on him. My sister lives nearby, and my parents are close to both of us, which is why I involved them. Am I the idiot for cutting off my toxic friend after she tried to sabotage my wedding? I, a 28-year-old female, have a friend, I'll call her Abby, who is also a 28-year-old female. Abby and I have been friends since we were both around 18, but we've had a few years breaks. We've had 2 large arguments where we stopped talking. The first time we didn't talk for 2 years, the second was only a year. When we are talking, we are best friends. We do a lot together. Conventions, hiking, going to the park, malls, video games, and so on. We know more about each other than most people know about each other. Less like friends, more like sisters. For a while there, I was the only reason Abby was leaving the house. I started to help her exercise and lose weight, which was something she wanted to do. She was on weight loss medicine while I tried to pack on muscle. I also have a fiancé, we'll call him Sean, a 35-year-old male. I met him when I was 20. We've known each other for 8 years and have been dating for 7. I met him at an anime convention during one of the no-talking phases Abby and I had. I love this man with all my heart. I cannot tell you how much. He is the light of my life, and I smile anytime I think about him. We make each other better. He has helped me get out and exercise more and has helped me with my sleeping issues. He works with me on my anxiety and depression, while I've helped him with social cues and talking to people. Going into the relationship, neither of us wanted children, but now we're planning a family. Just a few examples. There's more, but I don't want to be here all day. This man makes my heart flutter in all the good ways. I can't be sad looking at him. When I told him my aunt had a stroke and wouldn't make it through the weekend, he told me to pack a bag for me and a bag for my dad. He would be at my place in an hour and a half. He was willing to drive 12 hours to a different state, with no plan on where we'd stay or a guarantee that she'd still be alive when we got there, just so my dad and I could say goodbye to her. He was halfway to my place before I called him and told him not to worry about it. We would do a video call. He loves my dad. My dad loves him. Almost everyone in my life likes him, and I adore his family, especially his mother and sisters. They are amazing. We get along like white on rice. Now that introductions are over, on to the problem. Sean proposed during the solar eclipse. We traveled 2 hours to the path of the eclipse, spent the night, got to the park early, and had a picnic. He proceeded to propose during totality, and it was incredibly romantic. It was also the 8th anniversary of the day we first met. I loved it. I was on cloud 9. In fact, I still am. We wanted a quick engagement, so we planned for a 6-month engagement. The wedding is on Saturday, and we are leaving for our honeymoon that Sunday. I am beyond excited. The problem is that Abby hates Sean, and I mean truly hates him. She and her mother are the only two people in my life who do not like Sean, and they refuse to explain why. Even mentioning his name causes her to shut up and ignore me for hours, sometimes even days. She won't even go on a hike with me because I have Sean's car. Mine is in the shop, and I need it to get to work while he can work from home. She cut fishing during Father's Day short because my dad asked me a question about my bouquet. I do not know why she behaves this way, as she refuses to explain anything to me. Before you ask, they have never been left alone, at all. None of us go to parties, so they have never been to one together. She has only hung out with him twice while I was there, and even then, she was practically connected to my hip. They have never run into each other outside of the three of us hanging out, because Sean lives over an hour away from us. I mention this because I can already see comments suggesting that he might have sexually attacked her or been creepy with her. There is no way they have ever been near each other without me being present. She expects me to always choose her over him, but refuses to explain anything to me. She is furious that we are getting married, and when I told her, she gave me the silent treatment for a week. Sean and I are also planning on moving in together after the wedding. We have a few apartments lined up already, and all of them are outside the town I currently live in. We are also looking for an apartment for my father, so he's still close, because Sean knows how much I love my father and worry about him. How do I go about telling Abby that I'm moving? I don't want to lose the friendship we have. Well, because she has refused to spend any time with me since Father's Day. But I worry that no matter how I approach the subject, she is going to explode. I hope this was enough information on the subject. I will try my best to answer any questions. Now for an update. This really blew up. You all have given me a lot to think about, and I had a good chat with my therapist about everything. I've decided to start to pull away from her. I will not be initiating contact with her anymore, and I will be more careful with any communication with her. I genuinely appreciate everyone's brutal honesty. I think deep down I realized the problem, but didn't want to face it. It took a bunch of Reddit strangers to tell me. So thank you. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Damn, this subreddit has given me a lot to think about and discuss with my therapist, since I've been avoiding this subject with her for a while. Thank you all for opening my eyes to how toxic my friend is and how unhealthy this relationship is. This friendship has run its course. I should have realized a lot sooner, considering how stressful it had become to keep her away from Sean. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all. Comment 2. I think your friend could be in love with you. She might not have admitted it to you or herself, but that might be why she's so angry. If she can't explain to you why she hates Sean, she can't explain it to herself. It seems she barely even knows him. She might not really hate Sean. She hates the idea of him because it sounds to me like she wants to be the only one in your life. Now for the update. 2 days after I posted my original update, I got a text from Abby asking if we could meet up. I almost didn't reply, but I figured maybe she wanted to explain her feelings about Sean. So I agreed. We decided to meet at this local diner we used to go to back in college. Honestly, the place used to have good memories for me, and I hoped maybe it would help us get back on track. Spoiler alert, it didn't. When I got there, Abby was already seated. She looked so tense. Like, I don't know if she was on edge or what, but she immediately ordered a coffee without even saying hi. I took the lead and asked her how she was doing, but she totally deflected. Like, fine, I get it, but come on. Then she started asking about the wedding plans. I tried to sound all excited and said some stuff about the venue and flowers, even though I didn't really feel like it. I thought maybe talking about the wedding would lighten the mood a little. And then, out of nowhere, Abby interrupted me. She said she couldn't believe I was marrying Sean. Just like that. The vibe changed, and her frustration was just there, like a big dark cloud hanging over our conversation. I finally asked her directly why she disliked Sean so much, and she hit me with the news. She said she saw him with another woman a few months back. I was taken aback and had to ask for more details because, what the heck? She said she saw him at a bar one night, talking closely with this woman. And get this, I remembered that night. I was out of town visiting family, so I reminded her of that, and she was all like, well, he was leaning in and laughing with her, and that was suspicious. I tried to explain that Sean was just being his friendly self because that's how he is, He's social and talks to everyone. But Abby cut me off. She said she didn't want to ruin my happiness, but felt like she had to tell the truth. She was all serious when she said she was going to confront Sean about it later that day. Then she suggested that maybe I should call off the wedding to figure things out. I just brushed off the suggestion. Come on, I trust Sean. Yeah, I get Abby's a good friend, but I know my fiancé, and I'm not just going to believe some random story about him. We finished our meal in this tense silence, not really talking at all. We left the diner without really resolving anything. It was the same as before, if not worse. After that, I texted Sean and asked him to meet me at our favorite coffee shop after work. I was just in a daze. I knew I had to talk to him and figure out what was going on, especially since Abby was going to confront him about something totally bogus. He arrived with a smile, and I was just so anxious. I jumped straight into the conversation and asked him about the night Abby saw him with the other woman. He looked surprised and asked for more context, which made sense. I explained what Abby had claimed and watched his reaction closely. He chuckled and said he remembered that night. He said he was talking to a friend from work, and then he pulls out his phone to show me a group photo from that night. Surprise, the woman was there with a bunch of other people. So I was like, okay, cool. But then I asked him why he hadn't mentioned this friend before, and it got a little awkward. He explained he thought it was no big deal since he never saw her again after that night. A few days later, Abby texted me again asking to meet up. I was just like, ugh. We met at this local park, and the tension was thick in the air. She seemed more agitated than before. She started off saying she felt ignored after our last conversation. I tried to reassure her that our friendship was important, but she snapped back at me. The confrontation escalated, and she accused me of choosing Sean over her. I insisted I wasn't abandoning our friendship, but we were just going in circles. Then she dropped this news on me. She said she had been considering moving away for a job opportunity. Just like that. When we parted ways, she mentioned she'd be gone by the end of the month. I felt like everything was just falling apart. To answer a few questions, Abby has known Sean for a while, but they aren't close. She didn't go into detail about the woman she saw him with. She also didn't take any pictures or get any names. Sean called his coworkers from that night, but no one remembered that specific woman. Am I the idiot for refusing to be my husband's caregiver and demanding he step up for our family? I, 25-year-old female, and my husband, 25-year-old male, have been married for just short of 4 years. In that time, we have had 2 children and learned that he has ADHD. He worships the ground I walk on. He would feed me grapes and serve my food on a silver platter if I asked. But he won't do a single chore around the house. Can't maintain a train of thought long enough to clean up after himself. Refuses to regularly take his medication. Won't go to work. He works from home, despite me expressing concern on many occasions that he's going to lose his job. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so that thought is extra terrifying. We recently purchased a property that turned into a whole flip instead of a few minor upgrades we thought we were going to have to do. He never goes to work on it, so we're stuck staying at my dad's. His response is that he just loves me so much and wants to spend all his time with me. I am constantly encouraging him to leave and go do his responsibilities because they need to be done. But truthfully, I feel smothered. I have to remind him to put lotion and medicine on his skin, horrible eczema, probably psoriasis, and I have to remind him to shower. So all in all, the only things I can guarantee that he will do are pay the bills that are all on auto pay and take out the trash, but not run it to the landfill. All of this has been wearing on me for 4 years. I actually quit my job 3 years ago because we were going to get a divorce if I didn't, because he expected me to manage everything in the house and work full-time as an intensive care unit nurse because that's what his mom did. So all of this obviously sucks. And I feel like I'm living with a stubborn, overgrown toddler who can't make a decision to save his life, but argues with me when I try to make one. But on top of all of that, he recently had the fourth person in his life, over the span of our relationship, come to him to ask if I was taking advantage of him and if I understood that he needed to work. Y'all, I just about exploded. I feel like I'm going crazy because I know I'm dragging him through life and he's barely hitting the bare minimum, but apparently he's presenting me in a negative light to those around him. And when I ask how he presents me, he says fairly. I feel like I'm going crazy, and I have been begging for therapy, but after another person asked if I was taking advantage, I feel like I'm just done. What am I even fighting for at this point? To drag a man-child around just to be viewed as the bad guy from the outside? The only reason I'm still here is because of the kids, but I don't know if that's better either. I don't know. Send help. To add some clarity, 1. He is a wonderful father. I couldn't have picked a better dad for my children, minus some forgetfulness. He loves them fully and takes amazing care of them, never acts like a babysitter, etc. 2. He works from home. When I say he won't go to work, I mean he won't go to his office upstairs and start working. It's regular for him to have a 3 to 4 hour workday. 3. I'd be thrilled if he just worked and cleaned up after himself. I don't need him to split chores or anything like that. Obviously, help is a plus, but working a job and working on fixing up a house is an incredible weight to carry if he'd go and do those things. 4. Also, yes, I was a little sassy. I wrote my fully transparent feelings on a throwaway account for a reason. I'd never speak to him or anyone we knew about him like this. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Girl, you have to remind him to shower. To shower. Imagine doing all the stuff you're doing for the next 30 years. Divorce and run, immediately. Go get a job and live your best life. Even as a single mom, your life will be way easier. Comment 2. What did I just read? He just loves you so much and has to be with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Not the advocate. Stop being a married single mom. In my opinion, your husband is at least partially using weaponized incompetence with you. Now, for the update, I'm not sure if anyone will even remember my post from last week. I was just updating on how my husband's been slacking at home, and I was feeling pretty much done with his whole act. 6 days have passed since then, and I can confidently say that things have gotten worse. Like, a lot. I can barely keep up, and something's gotta change. My husband has avoided going to his office again, and he's left piles of work untouched. I just don't know how he thinks this is gonna work. The kids had a birthday party last weekend, and I managed everything alone. Well, I did have help from my family, but my husband didn't do anything. It was just like, here's the kids, here's the cake I bought, and that's it. My parents were there, and my dad asked my husband about his job, trying to be supportive. It was kind of sweet, honestly, but my husband just laughed it off. I could see the frustration on his face. He was trying to protect himself from my parents' scrutiny, but it was so obvious that he was just over it. I should have taken that as a sign. After the party, I found a text on my husband's phone from a coworker asking if he was still working on a project. I confronted him about the text, and instead of explaining, he changed the subject. He just started talking about how he thought the kids' party went well. I was just like, what? I need you to explain why you're avoiding work, and you're talking about how the kids had a good time? My sister called me the next day, asking if my husband was okay since he seemed really distant at the party. I decided to ask him directly, which led to a heated exchange about his responsibilities. He accused me of nagging him. I pointed out the unfinished chores and asked him how he could avoid his job and still complain about me being a nag. The next day, my brother invited us for a family dinner, hoping to lighten the mood. It only made things worse. During the dinner, my husband just had to make a joke about how I do all the work at home. He laughed, and everyone else joined in. My brother tried to change the topic, but it was so awkward. My parents invited us for lunch the following weekend, and I agreed to bring my husband. He really needed to talk to my dad, and I thought it would be good for him. Instead, my dad told him that he needed to step up and help more. My husband became defensive and argued about how he's trying his best. My dad was like, "No, you're not," and it was just really uncomfortable. That evening, I overheard my husband on a video call with his coworker discussing work struggles. He was saying how he felt like he was failing at work and home, and it broke my heart. I organized a surprise family outing for the kids, planning everything down to the last detail. I told my husband to join us, but he hesitated, saying he had work to do. He grudgingly agreed to come, but I noticed he was distracted the entire time. The outing was a success, but it highlighted how disconnected he was from our family. I decided to keep the momentum going and planned a family game night for the weekend. I invited my parents and siblings, hoping for support and a fun atmosphere. During the game night, I subtly pointed out how my husband often checked his phone for work messages. My brother called him out on it, asking if he was really present with us. My husband got defensive again, leading to an argument in front of everyone. The night ended with my husband storming out, and I was just left there, feeling completely defeated. Later that night, I sent him a message saying I was done carrying the weight alone. My husband eventually came home, and the tension was just so obvious. He didn't even want to talk about what happened after everyone left. He just wanted to go to bed. I've been thinking about it a lot since then, and I know I need to do something. I can't keep doing this alone. Edit. I've been overwhelmed, and reading through the comments helped me realize that I need to take more responsibility for my own happiness. I had a heart-to-heart with my husband and told him that I would be taking a break from managing everything. This means no more planning events, no more initiating deep conversations, and no more taking care of his work-related issues. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.